Hello there, I'm Jimmy Vegas, and Resident Evil Requiem is coming out in February 2026, obviously with the big reveal that was shown to us at Summer Game Fest. Now, one thing that I will say about this game is that the main protagonist does seem to be Grace, and okay, that's fair enough. However, being set in Raccoon City and the whole idea of this being one big circle coming back to the beginning, all that kind of stuff, plus all the rumours of Jill and Leon being in the game. Well, where's that left us right now? Because there was no sign of Jill. There was no sign of Leon in the trailer that we saw. Or was there? I do believe that there was a sign of Jill and Leon in that trailer. So if you didn't see the trailer at Summer Game Fest or you haven't got round to seeing it yet, long story short, we got a big scene of a dude walking through, speaking to Grace, and she's in the FBI, and then we had some basics flashing round about Raccoon City and it's decimated. But there were some voices that you can hear throughout the course of this particular trailer. One of them being Grace, one of them being the guy who she's talking to. Someone also saying, "Are you investigating murders?" Another voice saying to keep our voices down. And another one saying, "Have you seen the things I've seen?" Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to play to you right now a little chunk of that trailer, and then we'll reconvene and we'll discuss it. So here it comes.
Investigating all these strange deaths, huh?
We need to keep our voices down.
Have you seen the same shit I've seen?
So to me, that woman's voice is quite clearly Jill Valentine. Now, if you think about this logically, because of what we know about Resident Evil Requiem, how it all cycles back together, why would it not be Jill Valentine? You've got to think about it. Jill would inevitably go back to Raccoon City to close this whole cycle off. And yes, Grace is involved because her mother was killed, and yes, I know there's going to be a story there. But what a lot of people really want to know is Jill and Leon. They are the two big protagonists of Resident Evil. I know we have Chris in there, I know we have Claire in there, but let's face it, everyone loves Jill for whatever reason, and Leon has kind of become the new poster boy of Resident Evil. So, the woman's voice saying, "Keep our voices down," or "Keep your voices down," whatever it was, I do believe that is Jill Valentine. Whether it's the same voice actor, whether it's a different voice actor, I don't actually know. I genuinely don't know. However, it wouldn't make sense if it was somebody else. It's clearly not Grace, and it's clearly not Alyssa. And those are realistically the only two women that we know of that could be involved in this game. Yes, I know Alyssa's dead, but that's beside the point. There are two male voices that we can hear, one asking about the murders and the other one saying about the things he's seen. One of them is Leon, and I do not believe that it is the person saying investigating murders. I do believe it is the person saying whatever he's seen, because that would make sense for Leon. And at this point, Leon is much older than what he was in Resident Evil 4. He's much older than what he was in Resident Evil 6. So it only makes sense for Leon now to have a really deep, husky, gritty, do not care kind of voice. So whatever voice actor that is for Leon about the things he's seen, it kind of makes sense. So I think having those two voice lines in that Resident Evil Requiem trailer just kind of unequivocally proves that Jill and Leon at least play some part in that game. Now, I know a lot of people have been saying that Grace is the main playable character. I generally haven't seen too much evidence of that just yet, but I will admit that yes, it does look like she probably is the main character. Jill and Leon are more than likely supporting characters. We genuinely won't know anything about who is the main character until we see some gameplay or something, or Capcom tells us something, or another trailer. Because quite literally, all we've seen at face value is that trailer for Resident Evil Requiem. And yes, I know it looks good, but we quite literally don't know who the main character is. And honestly, I don't want it to be Grace. I'm happy for Grace to be a supporting character. And I think it's important to kind of understand, you know, going back to the whole Alyssa story. But I really think it's Jill and Leon that should be dual protagonists here. But either way, the fact that both of those voices are in that trailer just proves to me Jill and Leon are confirmed in Resident Evil Requiem. Another thing I want to think about here is, where's Chris in this? Where is Claire? Because they are not small characters in the world of Resident Evil. Where's Rebecca? I can't understand why Capcom would have left characters out of this unless there is a huge surprise coming towards the reveal proper of gameplay, you know what I mean? Because it makes sense to have these extra characters in it, because Chris started Resident Evil, really, didn't he? He was, you know, well, on the front cover of the original Resident Evil, it's meant to be Chris, but it isn't Chris. It's just a generic drawing of someone in Resident Evil, and that is documented. But Claire, she was Resident Evil 2, Code Veronica, Revelations 2. Yeah, Revelations 2, not the first Revelations. So she is a mainstay as well. And if they want to wrap this whole thing together, why is it just Jill and Leon? It doesn't make sense to me like that. The only other thing I can think of is that this is a bit like a Resident Evil 6 thing crossed with Resident Evil 2. They kind of have all these intertwining stories of Jill, Leon, Chris and Claire all happening at the same time, and they all come together, they all converge, and it comes to one big ending in Resident Evil Requiem. And that is kind of worrying in some ways, because that's very much like Resident Evil 6, but I think they've learned from their mistakes from Resident Evil 6. I made a video about what Jeff Keighley said at the end of the trailer that we saw about it being high-stakes cinematic action and a bold shift in tone and gameplay, but that's something different. The idea of this video was just to kind of look at the trailer and understand what we're going to get from it just by listening to what the voices say. And like I said quite clearly, that is Jill, and to me it's almost unequivocally Leon. And that is a really, really good thing. I would like to see both of these characters return as playable characters though, but I am curious to see how this whole thing wraps around together. Now, I am still analysing the trailer itself and listening to things and trying to spot things, and I've tried to avoid what other YouTubers have done or other media outlets, because I don't want my view of that disrupted by what they've put and me thinking I found something when they've actually found it themselves and I've just kind of cottoned onto that. I don't want to do that. So I'm looking at this trailer piece by piece, and this is the first thing that I've made a video of that I have noticed that I really wanted to bring to the table. There is a couple of other things that I might make a video on, but like I say, I don't know what everyone else is thinking right now. I'm going into this blind, and I genuinely believe that Jill and Leon are confirmed just because of what we hear in this Resident Evil Requiem trailer. So please do let me know what you thought of the trailer itself. Do you think Resident Evil Requiem is going to be exactly that? It's going to be this massive multi-story of different characters all converging at the end? Or do you think it's going to be a traditional one where we play as one single character, in this case could be Grace, and we have the supporting roles of whoever else apart from Jill and Leon? Or do you think it's something completely different as well? Because there are so many possibilities right now that we can't really confirm until Capcom tell us. And if we know Capcom well, which I think we do, apart from the troll that they gave at Summer Game Fest, I think they're likely to come out with more information around Gamescom, because it is going to be playable at Gamescom, I believe, and it would make sense for them to give us more information just before Gamescom. Naturally, when we come to something like Tokyo Game Show later this year, I think that's when we'll get proper confirmation of who is in this game, who is going to be the supporting role. Like I say, Gamescom, I think we'll know who the main protagonist is. But the next big thing we need to know is Wesker in it? But that's for a whole other video, because if Wesker's in it, oh my goodness, that is going to be one heck of a game. Because how's Wesker even got there? We all know what happens to Wesker. That is insane. But please do let me know in the comments what you think about Jill and Leon being in Resident Evil Requiem. Do you think it's confirmed just like I think it's confirmed by listening to those two lines? There will be some videos hanging around somewhere on the screen now, if you wouldn't mind clicking on them, having a look at my other videos. There's also a little subscribe button just down below if you fancy clicking it to stay up to date with everything I upload. The bell notifications would be nice as well. But yeah, I really appreciate you watching. Hopefully I see you in another video. Take care.